continuing our journey, literally in the book that I wrote, Journey to Authentic Joy. We're continuing that journey. We are still in that faith segment of the journey, and today we are focused on the daily essay, Ram in the Bush, Ram in the Bush. And it's just that, if you heard the story, about the ram in the bush, we often think of, very understandably so, that thing that is available to us, unbeknownst to us, and we think we don't have any other option, and then there is that ram in the bush, so to speak. They're right on time, so to speak. That blessing that God gives us right on time, and we don't expect it. And it comes from the background, some of you probably already know the background. It comes from, pretty much Abraham and his son, and God told him it was a test, basically, to sacrifice his son. And I know today you might think, oh my gosh, would God say such a thing? It was a test. God was testing him to see if he was putting anything or anyone before him. And at the very last moment, when Abraham was attempting to be obedient, God then instructed him to grab the ram in the bush, sacrifice the ram. During that period of time, they sacrificed animals. That was part of them giving atonement to sins, as well as their way to honor God. But today we're talking about specifically those moments, very similar, but obviously very different, thankfully less extremely required. Today we're talking about specifically walking out on faith, not seeing how every step is going to have a provision, but knowing that God told us that the steps will have the provision, and then voila, there is the ram in the bush. And so when I think about that, I like to apply it to my life. And I love to travel, as I'm sure many of you do. It's that excitement, that joy that you get going somewhere new, novel, and learning new things, seeing the different way that people live and how they choose to manifest their culture. It's very exciting, nothing like it. But the thing about traveling, especially when you first start, it can feel a little like, where am I going? What do I do? And intimidating. But I see the ram in a bush in the travel story, in the sense of, when you get there, even if you speak a different language, there seems to always be, at least it has in my case, that one person, or maybe more, who's willing to help. Whether you're in a situation of, oh my goodness, my phone isn't working, how am I going to get transportation, across town? And then next thing you know, someone's willing to help you know how to find a taxi without an Uber. Whatever the circumstance is, God often provides that ram in the bush when we're obedient. Now, if we're not walking where we're supposed to be walking in the way that God wants us to walk, or where to walk, that is a completely different conversation. But when God tells us to go a certain place or do a certain thing a certain way, I'm here to say He always has that ram in the bush. He's always going to provide what you need in order to progress in that situation. And so just wanted to leave you with that and just remind you of that. Even if you don't see the full path, even if you get stuck on the path, believe and know that God is going to provide that ram in the bush that is going to appear out of nowhere. And as usual, I am going to leave you with 4 introspective questions for you to think about and for you to consider to yourself, or you can also ask others that are close to you as well. So number 1 is, I want you to look at a time or discover a time, I'm sure it has happened, when you've moved with haste. You've moved with haste because God told you to do something, or He told you to stop doing something. And you didn't really understand why, but then later you realized why. And if there is not an instance that comes to mind immediately, I challenge you, I encourage you to think of that instance, because it's going to help you. It will really help you to be able to use that as you move forward to other future opportunities. As they say, where there's risk, there's reward. And then secondly, do you recall an instance when God told you to do something, but you didn't do it because you really didn't understand the rationale. It's like, well, why would God tell me to do that? So you didn't do it, you weren't obedient in the moment, and then after the fact you realize, oh, that's why he told me to do that, or that's why he told me to not do that. And so I want you to think about that as well. And then thirdly, lastly, want you to really meditate on why is it important to obey God, and what are the implications when you don't or when you do, whether it's in the past or in the future, when you think about if you obey something God told you to do or you choose not to, what are those implications? I want you to meditate on that, pray on that, and then feel free to share this video with anyone who you believe will be blessed by it as well. And have a blessed day.